piano lesson number 8. Today I'm going to teach you guys about minor scales. There's 3 types of minor scales. It can sort of get a little bit complicated, but I'm going to try to make it as easy as possible so you'll probably understand it. Because I'm the master of easy. No. Sometimes I can get a bit confusing myself when I don't understand myself, but hey, I'm sure you guys will be able to follow along with us. There's 3 types of minor scales. Now, first of all, what is a minor scale? Well, before music was in major and minor scales, we had things called church modes, and music was all based around these modes. And that is another whole other story, and it's not used as much these days. But they developed this whole new system, which they developed by tuning a piano differently, which is called equal temperament. And it's basically having a major scale and a minor scale for each key, and the first key of the scale is the tonal center of that key. So it's like in the key of C major, C is the dominant force. And then it has a relative minor, so it's like this sort of like light and day, kind of. It's like the major is the happy sounding, and the minor is the sad sounding. And each piece, it's sort of like a mirror reflection. So there's a happy side, the major scale, and then there's the sad side, the minor scale. So you might expect that C major and C minor would be the ones that go along together, but they actually don't. Because I'm going to show you guys later, there's something called a key signature. And this thing basically dictates, it sets how the scale goes, because as you learned in the first lesson, there's a pattern to every scale, or is that the second lesson? But it doesn't matter. There's a pattern to every major scale, and that's tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. So the key signature, automatically, it's sort of like autopilot, it automatically puts in all the sharps or flats that you have to put in to make that scales be in a major key. So there's no accidentals or anything. Anyway, so how the minor scale works basically is, instead of being partnered with the key, so C major and C minor are not related at all. C major is actually related to A minor, and there's a very easy way to know which way they're related. All you do is you take the major key you're on and you go down 3 semitones. So let's get into more of it as we go. Okay, so let's keep going. Alright, so first thing I wanted to do is show you guys what this looks like on the piano. Then I'll take you back to the whiteboard and show you how it's all drawn out. So a major scale, as we were showing, let's just use C major. So C major starts on C and just goes up to C. Pretty simple, right? So this is a minor scale. Now there's 3 types of minor scales. The first one is called a natural minor, and it's very rarely used. Then there's the second one, it's called a harmonic minor, and it's probably the most commonly used. And then there's a melodic minor, and it's sort of mediumly used. It is used, and you'll still hear it today, and it's pretty common, but I mean the harmonic minor is the most common. So that's what I'm going to show you. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to show you the harmonic first. Let's start with the natural. So basically, C, it has no sharps or flats. You'd agree with that, right? There's no black keys. It's just going from C. It doesn't get altered at all. It doesn't go up or down or anything like that. It's just going from C to C. So what the minor is, the relative minor, here's how you go. You just go 3 semitones down. So watch this. 1, 2, 3. That's my relative minor, A. So since it's on A, then I'd say A minor. So A minor is the relative. These 2 are like cousins. This is the happy cousin, that's the sad one, or a mirror reflection. Now listen to, this is the natural. So there's no modifications to it. There's no sharps or flats, nothing. It's just the same key signature, so there's no sharps or flats, all white, and then all white. Okay, so that's A minor. Natural, it's just the same as C major, but 3 semitones lower. That's it. Pretty simple? Okay. Now, the harmonic minor is the 7th note raised up. Now, there's a complicated reason for this, and since this is probably the only video I'm going to do on minors, I'll talk about it. Basically, the old composers, they needed a way, because when you get into harmony, basically, there's something called a leading tone, and the leading tone, or the seventh note of the scale, pulls you back to the tonic. See, listen to this. Could I just stop there? It's like, oh, it's the grand finale, and you're just like, okay, so this key here, you can't just end on that. You can't. See how you just want to go back to that C there? Now this is called the leading tone. It pulls you back towards the tonic. It's like everything's pushing and pulling, and that's the way all music is sort of derived. This is a very basic crash course on harmony here, but the tonic is the first note of the scale, and the leading tone is the seventh, or the last one, because once you get to 8, then it's just the tonic again. Okay, so now that you know that, what is the difference between the leading tone going to the tonic? It's only one semitone, so it's very close together. Now watch this. When you do a minor natural scale, there's a semitone missing. See, it's a full tone. The semitone isn't right there, so there's not that pull to go forward. You're just like, I can just sit here. So they wanted to keep that momentum going towards the tonic. So what they did is they actually altered. It's like they put the natural scale on steroids, and he's like, rah, I'm beef and Buffy, and I will push you to the tonic. Ah. Okay, yeah. I do a bad buff guy impression, but whatever. Okay. So yeah, you raise the seventh note up. Now listen to this. So listen to the difference. See how it just pulls you in there? Now this might sound a little familiar. This sounds a little bit like Arabian music, doesn't it? Anyway, so that is a harmonic minor scale. So the only rule with that is you have to raise the seventh note up one semitone above whatever its standard key signature is. So since both these scales have no key signature, it's just no sharps, no flats, they're the only scale that has this, they basically are related, and think of the key signature as like a signature that someone would have. It's like they both sign the same way, but one's happy and one's sad. It's sort of like if someone was, split personality or something. Okay, so that's a harmonic minor scale. Now, what the melodic scale, the minor melodic scale. I'm getting all tongue twisted here. I don't know how you guys are gonna follow along if your teacher can't even say the right thing, huh? Okay, anyway. So, the melodic minor scale is sort of an interesting story. To go back, you have to go into history, and the early church, the Catholic Church or whatever, I think something like that, in the Middle Ages, they outlawed the interval of a minor third or an augmented second. They said it was like demonic or something like that. So this is a minor third or augmented second. So if you just went up to a priest and you started singing that, then they'd be like, oh, you're a demon possessed, you must be thrown. No. Anyway, that's what history says, and that's what music history, when you study it, talks about. So, when you're in music, you are actually not allowed to write an interval of a minor second, an augmented second, or a minor third. Now, you probably don't know what an augmented second is when I'm talking about it. All augmented means is bigger. So there's a second, right? A major second, and it's bigger than a second. So it's an augmented second. That's it. Okay. So if you notice this, now since we've raised the seventh note in the harmonic scale, ooh, what is that? Oh, look, that's the dreaded augmented second. Oh! So if a person was writing this, maybe someone had to go to jail before they realized this, but if you write this, that would be illegal in whatever the world was at that time. So they had to write around it. So you could write a second or whole tone. So what they did is so that they could keep this whole pattern here. If they wanted to go up the scale, they weren't actually allowed to do that. So what they had to do was they raised this one up, because look at this. Now this is only a second or a whole tone apart. This is a whole tone, and that's a semitone. So that's actually, that is a melodic scale, a minor melodic scale. There's no other, it's not like there's a major melodic, but to be specific, you know, minor melodic scale. So the 6th note and the 7th note are raised, up one semitone. Now, here's the trick. Because when they're coming down, for some reason there's no need to have the, you know, the leading tone anymore raised. So they just lower everything back down. So what they do is on the way down, you lower the notes. So it actually changes as you go down. Watch this. So that's actually a melodic scale. Pretty freaky, huh? That's probably one of the more confusing scales. So you have to remember that every minor scale has those 3 different types inside of it. Now in my next lesson, I'm going to show you the circle of fifths, which is one picture that can show you every scale in existence. Okay? And it's quite easy. Like, well, it's not really, really easy, but I mean, you can pick it up. I've taught it to people in 10 minutes. Like some of my students, I teach it to them and they know how to do it, and they can write it out on a piece of paper with no help in 10 minutes. So, and those aren't just my really bright ones. I mean, pretty much anyone can learn it. Okay, so that's what these 3 scales look like on the keyboard. Now, let's go on to the piece of paper and I'll show you those, okay? Oh yeah, and one thing I wanted to add. Why they call it a harmonic minor is because it was used in harmony for chords. So if you had like something like this, or, right? That would be a way to go back instead of doing this. Like that just doesn't sound good. And if you're doing like an A minor, right? That just doesn't sound right. But if you do this, see where I'm going with this? By raising that note, it gives a whole pull to that tonic, and that's what you want. Or that's what they were trying to achieve. Okay, anyway, beside the point. Now let's go back and I'll quickly show you it on the whiteboard. So we looked at the scales on the piano. Now let's look at it on the whiteboard. Okay, so in written format, I've sort of gotten a mess of stuff here, but we should be able to go through it. Okay, so minor scales. You can always find the relative minor scale of a major key by just going 3 semitones lower than whatever the major is. So if you're at C major, you just go 3 semitones down. If you're on F major, you'd go 3 semitones down. So if you're on F, then it would be E, E flat, D. So D minor is the relative minor of F major. Or say you're at A flat major. Just A flat, then go to G, go to G flat, and then go to F. So F is the relative minor for A flat major. Now if you wanted to find out what the relative major for a minor key is, say you're in a minor key and you want to go find the relative major, you just go what? Up 3 semitones instead of down. So think that if you're sad in a minor key, you have to go up to find the happy. So you have to go, yay! And if you're in a happy, you have to go down to find the sad. So I'm in a major key, I want to be minor. So I have to go 3 semitones down. If I'm in a minor key and I find a major, I have to go up 3 semitones. So 1, 2, 3, yay! Okay, so the relative major of A minor. So say we're in A minor and we're like, oh, what's the relative major of A minor? So we're in A minor, we go, okay, 1, so that's B flat, 2, that's B, 3, that's C. So C major is the relative major of A minor. Okay, cool. So, okay, here's another question. What would be the relative major of C minor? That's something you can add in the comments below. Or you can write to me or whatever and answer that if you know the answer. Okay, so minor scales. Now there's the three types, so there's natural, harmonic, and melodic. So natural, just think natural does nothing. It's just the same scale, just starting on a different note. Okay? Da da da, nothing happens to it. It's exactly the same as the major. Harmonic, the seventh note has to be raised. So that's what happens here. So in this case, because there's nothing, we have to add a sharp. Now, what if we are in a scale with flats in them? What would we do? We would have to raise it from the flat, so that would actually take it to a natural. Because if this is natural and this is a flat and that's a sharp, and we're here and we have to go up one, where are we going to go? To the natural. So that's something to keep in mind, okay? So if you're in a flatted scale and you have to go up, like you have to raise the seventh note, and it just so happens that that seventh note has a flat on it already from the key signature, then yeah, you're going to have to put a natural there to revert it back. Hopefully you're following this. But just keep going along in the lessons, because the next one I'm going to talk about key signatures, and I'm going to go into the whole circle of fifths and explain that. So if you're getting confused here, don't worry too much. But I wanted to explain minor scales before I went into all the scales, because you'd be like, what are all these scales, right? Because there's a major and a minor, so just bear with me and watch the next one on that. Okay, so these ones kind of interdepend on each other. Okay, so the harmonic, the seventh is raised going up and going down. It always stays the same. Seventh is raised, that's it, okay? Now it's mainly used for harmony, while as melodic scales are usually used for melody. Melody is going do 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 do. It's moving from left to right. So because it's moving, that's when you could have that da da, or the minor third, minor third, minor third. Anyway, I'm singing to myself. You must think I'm crazy or on something. Anyway, okay. So the sixth and the seventh get raised in the melodic scale. That's what happens. Now I have a really funky arrow being drawn here, which actually looks more like an accent with like a tree branch coming out of it or something. I don't know. But this is supposed to be an arrow pointing up, and it's going. All the notes are going up. It's da 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 like that. So I've raised both the sixth and the seventh note. Now once I get up to the top and I'm going back down, what do I have to do? I have to lower the sixth and the seventh note down again. So the sixth and seventh go raised when you're going up, and they both get lowered when you're going down. Now, when I say raised, I mean raised a semitone. So, say this was F, that would become F sharp. This would become G sharp. Okay? And now this would go back to F natural and G natural and F natural. Okay? Pretty simple. The main thing you have to do if you're playing it is you have to remember that once you get to the top, then you have to move your fingers and change them. So a lot of people, they'll play the melodic scale with the sixth and seventh raised going up, and they'll keep them raised when they go back down. So you just have to remember to lower those two notes. If you can remember all that stuff, you should be good with all stuff to do with minor scales. Okay, so yeah, I'd say that is about it. So, take care and look for the next video right after this, lesson number 9 on the circle of fifths. Okay, take care. See you later, guys.